Bujuna dinoi maganatug, Melissan indigene cause, Makunsi gabawiki dash nindigo, Nin anishtabe ikwe piju do dame, Mikanakwa juing, Turtle Mountain Chippewa, Nindunji ba, Miu, Miigwich. Hello, Sonoma County. I greeted you all in the Ojibwe or Chippewa language of my ancestors from my mother's line. It is an endangered language, and I am proud to speak just a bit of it to share with you the sound of the land of the people of the Ojibwe Nation. I am here to talk with you as a mixed-race Native American woman about returning native lands to native hands and native hands to native lands. We are coming back to Earth. It was great to be in the macro. We're going to get into the micro. So, did you know you are on native lands? You are on native lands. We are on native lands. Here in Sonoma County, we are on the beautiful lands of the Coast Miwok and Pomo peoples. We are surrounded by half a dozen sovereign nations. To the south of us, the Federated Indians of Great Rancheria. To the northwest of us, the Kushaya Pomo Nation. To the northeast of us, the Dry Creek Pomo. Right next door to us, the Lytton Springs Rancheria. These are proud sovereign nations that have histories of this land going back at least 10,000 years or since time immemorial as they portray in their creation and migration stories. I don't know if you also know that the native people of California are renowned plant specialists. They are herbalists, basket makers, medicine makers, botanists. Their understanding of tule and redbud and willow and dogbane, so many beautiful plant species that are often endangered today. If we want to restore the rich biodiversity of Sonoma County, we must return land to Native people who have time-tested practices for conserving, protecting, restoring, and utilizing the indigenous plants, flora, and fauna in a sustainable way. I have been very privileged and honored to travel around the world and meet with indigenous peoples from the Arctic to the Amazon. And everywhere you go, we have this teaching that was shared to us by the great Dr. LeRoy Little Bear. And that is, as indigenous people, we find our cultural resilience in the medicines of the land. We cannot separate land and culture anymore. That is a division we're ready to get rid of, right, people? We need to transform this division we've made between people and place. And we need to look to the traditional ecological knowledge of indigenous peoples who have been conservers and protectors of this knowledge for ages. So I am involved with an exciting movement, and I want you to be involved with it too. It's called the Land Back Movement and the Land Rematriation Movement. This movement is about restoring our relationships and honoring the first peoples of the land. It's about addressing historical injustices and contemporary injustices. Native peoples in the United States only control 4% of their original lands. The Native people in California only control less than 1%. But that is changing with the Land Back Movement and the Land Rematriation Movement. We can address these historical injustices and create a more vibrant, healthy, and just society for all beings. As you can see, there's been an incredible proliferation of land back movement initiatives happening throughout Turtle Island, our name for North America. And they have been growing and growing. Hopefully some of you are involved with them. Sonoma County in California is becoming a leader of this movement. But of course, the land back movement happened the first moment Christopher Columbus bumped into our island, Turtle Island. So we are concerned with returning native hands to native lands. So much healing and transformation can happen through this process. So with the Cultural Conservancy, I'm so honored that we have our own land back project happening right here in your backyard in Sebastopol. It's a long story I don't have time to tell, but I put out an intention. After the Cultural Conservancy has been helping indigenous peoples around the U.S. for decades return native lands to native hands, an elder woman reached out to me from Sebastopol and called and said, I have an old farm. I haven't been using it. I want it to go to a Native American organization, and I heard you do good work. Our organization, the Cultural Conservancy, has been around since 1985, and our motto was returning native lands to native hands. You can imagine 30, 40 years ago, it wasn't very popular. Today, it's much more popular, thankfully, and hallelujah that we are seeing this day of environmental and social justice for indigenous peoples. So when we got this offer, I said, thank you so much. You know, we are an intertribal organization. We have Chippewa and Yaqui and Pomo and all kinds of folks, but the first peoples of this land are the Coast Miwok and the Southern Pomo. So we went directly to Chairman Greg Saris of the Federated Indians of Great Rancheria and asked for his permission to proceed. It's in our mission to honor ancestral lands. We could not proceed without his permission. He consulted with the tribe, and gratefully, they granted us full permission with enthusiasm to proceed with our goal of creating an indigenous biocultural heritage oasis. And so in just a couple of years, we have created what we call Herons Shadow. It's only 8 acres, but it is a laboratory, it is an oasis, it is a place where we are doing the most incredible work to reconnect with the soil. We knew the first thing we needed to do was just listen to the land. Listen to the soil, the water, the winds, the birds, understand the ecological processes, the fire history, the watershed dynamics. We're in the Green Valley watershed that feeds into the Russian River where we're restoring coho salmon. We knew that we also had to listen to our human community. We brought in tribal citizens and elders and knowledge holders and students and youth and neighbors and said, what would you like to see happen on this beautiful area of land? We want to create an oasis for biological diversity, cultural diversity, indigenous resilience, and resilience for all people. So we held a number of listening to the land circles, and people drew pictures, and we documented the process with audio video, and we slowly but surely began to make changes. We knew that we wanted to honor the first people's knowledge, Tending the Wild, a great book, by the way, but Tending the Wild is the practice of indigenous resource management with working with the in situ plants and animals, the native ecosystems that already live in the area. So we started doing ecological restoration work. We started doing indigenous land care practices, bringing back things like cultural burning that the local people used all the time to prevent these catastrophic fires that we've seen recently. So we reintroduced fire as a medicine and as a tool, not as an enemy. We also have had a decade of experience growing indigenous foods at Indian Valley Organic Farm and Garden down in Novato at the College of Marin. So we had a lot of experience with indigenous farming, and we knew that this place, Herons Shadow, would be a beautiful agricultural, polycultural farm area. So we started growing beautiful, delicious foods. We have been very honored to be part of the seed rematriation movement. This is bringing ancient, old, heirloom Native American seeds out of seed banks and vaults and libraries and university basements and returning them to their motherlands, to their homelands, to their place of origin as long-lost ancestors and relatives. The seeds contain so much genetic wisdom, so much wisdom about adapting to climate change. And through warm hand to warm hand, we have exchanged these seeds across the Americas with farmers from Oaxaca and the Seminole and from the Cherokee and from the Seneca in New York. So we have a seed bank of incredible seed varieties, and we welcome your input and participation. We are lucky to grow enough food not only for seed and for our own large cultural conservancy community, but we distribute these bundles of food and boxes of food to the larger Bay Area urban indigenous community. We bring them to powwows and round dances and graduations and urban Indian health center fairs to increase our health, to increase our biological health, our nourishment, our cultural and spiritual nourishment when you eat your traditional native foods. So we're into slow indigenous food, not fast food nation. We are also lucky to provide some food to Crystal Wapapa in the new award-winning Wapapa's Kitchen in Oakland, if you haven't had a chance to get to. So we're developing markets also for some of our wonderful indigenous produce. So we are growing food, we are growing nourishment, we are growing justice, we are growing healing, and we are growing community. We are growing place-based educational context for people to come together and learn about eco-literacy, how to be more of an eco-literate person. We are also teaching indigenous eco-literacy, remembering we are on native lands. And in just a few years, it's been incredible. We purchased the land in 2019. We all know it happened in 2020, but this land truly became an oasis for us during the pandemic. So many urban communities were stuck inside, would come up to the land, weed and tend and prune. We have a beautiful Gravenstein apple orchard and black walnuts. And a small group of people have been working so hard. And shout out to my Cultural Conservancy team and founder here. We have taken this old, dilapidated farm and completely transformed it into this beautiful oasis. And we have multiple gardens. We are growing vegetable gardens, orchards, fruit gardens, medicine gardens, tea gardens, a sculpture garden of native science and learning so that all people can come and learn more about our own ancestral roots, our own traditional knowledges, and how to really replenish the soil from the ground up. We need this for all of us because we are facing some significant changes. You've heard that repeated from all of our speakers, right? Climate change, the fires, the flooding. We are facing such dire consequences, and we need to create these islands of resilience. We see this as a model of an island of resilience where you can grow your own food, teach your own languages, and heal from historical trauma. Chimigwech.